I was so convinced though.
We are live coming off of a big win by Joseph's Notre Dame Fighting Irish over the Georgia Bulldogs. We are back for some college basketball talk. We have a loaded schedule coming up this weekend. I think it's now a perfect time to dive into college hoops, Joe. But first, we're about half hour after Notre Dame defeats Georgia, moves on to the semifinals, and will now play Penn State in the Northeast Philly Bowl coming up on next Thursday. But welcome back, Joe. How are we, and how are we feeling after that big win?
I mean, Coyle, I'm buzzing right now. It was one of those things that I was talking. Like, I am a little bit surprised that we won. I won't lie, but like how we won, like dominating, like our defense, I knew was great all year. I knew we could hang with any team in the country, and I said that when we previewed the game. But I'm shocked at how badly we dominated Georgia, even with a backup quarterback. They couldn't really get the run going, which was something I was surprised that they couldn't even establish it a little bit. I mean, special teams showed up. That kick return was massive coming out of the half. We forced two more turnovers. We lead the country in turnovers. Defensively, that's what's going to be the key against Penn State, next week. And I know I said I didn't trust Riley Leonard, but it's crazy to me. He had 90 yards passing. Like, if you told the Georgia defense Riley Leonard was only going to pass for 90 yards, you got to be thinking you're going to win the game, or if not, it'd be, at least be close. Like Notre Dame, I was obviously sweating just because I've seen, Notre Dame so many times. I've talked about it. That was their first New Year's Six BCS win since the 90s. Like in my lifetime, that's the first
Yep.
time I've seen that. I mean, that's just a huge win. Now you're setting up, anything can happen in this game. Penn State, I think it's going to be interesting to see how they fare against that defense. We'll break it down more next week, but you're coming off a game where you had SMU at home and then Boise State, who, I love Boise, but we saw very quickly they were outclassed physically in that game.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be very interesting to see. And Coyle, like you were saying, this Penn State Notre Dame game, not even that game, but Ohio State Texas, in terms of like the TV numbers you're going to see, is going to be insane. That whole weekend,
Yeah, next weekend.
college football, NFL Saturday, NFL Sunday, Monday night game, NFL. It's going to be awesome. I can't wait.
Yeah, definitely a great Thursday to Monday stretch next week. I for some reason I bet Georgia. I picked Notre Dame on our show. I picked Notre Dame to go to the final at the beginning of the bracket. I had them beating Georgia, and then woke up this morning and decided to bet Georgia. Not mad about it. It's cool to see Notre Dame win, Georgia go down. I was off of Georgia pretty much the whole year. And we could see it tonight. They just don't have the same amount of dudes that they've had in the past. The playmakers were terrible. So many dropped passes. The passing game didn't look strong, obviously, with Stockton making his first start. They just looked outmanned, and it's weird to see Georgia like that. Notre Dame did everything right. It seemed like they pushed all the right buttons, and we talked about it last week, but you were saying how you were worried about Riley Leonard in the passing game, and as you said, throws for under 100 yards, but what does he do? He has the ability to make plays with his legs, and he's a gutsy player, and he's just a winning player, winning quarterback. And the switch really flipped in his head after that Northern Illinois game, and he's been a man on a mission, because he was saying, I think I read an article a few weeks ago, like he went to Freeman's office after that game and just basically like apologized and said, like, I'm sorry for letting you down. Like, you brought me in to be your quarterback this year, and I just let you down to a Northern Illinois team. And for him and the entire team to rally the way they have, it's been super impressive. And it's going to be a really fun game next week to start us off on Thursday night with Notre Dame and Penn State. So cool to see there. Georgia goes down. You have one SEC team alive. You got two Big Ten teams, and then you got the independent there and Notre Dame. But we have a
And before I just want to say this, teams that had a bye went 0 for 4.
yep.
0 for 4 buys. All the teams that are currently in the semifinals did not win their respective conferences, which is
Yeah.
kind of like the argument people in the past were making for the playoff. Like, I get the BCS title game. You would have had Oregon, Georgia. Look what just happened.
Yep.
Oregon got flattened by Ohio State. We obviously just talked about Georgia. So I think, this is kind of vindication a little bit for the playoff. Could you tweak some things to make the matchups, a little bit more entertaining, maybe? But still, I think this is an awesome Final Four that we have. And these are four incredible teams, and I can't wait for next Thursday. But like you said, Coyle, we have an unreal weekend of college basketball ahead.
Yeah, with college football winding down, now is the time to start locking in on college basketball, and a great kind of Saturday intro. Our first Saturday without games in college football in a while. There might be I think there's a bowl game at like 11. I think like
Bahamas Bowl.
Liberty plays Buffalo, but outside of that, we have a great weekend of college basketball. So we'll preview our top 10 games of the weekend. We start on Friday night. We got a Sunday game as well, and then we got 8 games on Saturday. But Friday, Creighton, slow start to the year, 9-5 after having a really great season, great run last year. They've been plagued by injuries. They've struggled a bit to start it off, but they're 9-5. They're traveling to number 8 Marquette, who's 12-2. A 9 o'clock tip on FS1. Haslam Metrics projects a Marquette win of 79-68. So we'll go Marquette minus 10.5, over under 146.5. Joe, what have you seen from Marquette this year, and do you think that they take care of business at home here against Creighton?
Yeah, cool. I'm going to take Marquette minus the 10.5 here. And I just think, Shaka is continuing to prove that he's one of the best coaches in the country. I mean, Marquette, it's going to be Marquette UConn for the Big East again. That's why I'm taking them. I mean, Creighton, I hate Kalkbrenner. I've been on this for years. Going on the road, we've seen, home court. We talked about it ad nauseum for years. That's why I'm going to take Marquette here. Ultimately, just being the home team, you're off to a 12-2 start. You're looking like one of the best teams in the country, even without, when losing Kolek to, graduation in the NBA, you're still looking pretty good. So I'm going to go with Marquette here to keep that rolling. Creighton, I don't know. I forget who got hurt for Creighton, Coyle. I'm
Pop
blanking on his name.
Isaac.
Thank you. Pop Isaacs is hurt. So I am going to go with Marquette here to cover.
Yeah, when you look at Marquette, they've been one of the more impressive squads to begin the year. Obviously, sitting here at 12-2, number 8 in the country. But Cam Jones, he's a guy that was a role player on those really good Marquette teams from the past 2 years. He's playing like a potential national player of the year right now. So definitely a guy to watch. A big time home spot here. Creighton's one of the tougher road environments to go to. But they're definitely a different team away from home. They squeaked out a win the other day against St. John's at home, but they're going on the road here. I do think 10.5 is a big number, though. Marquette is a team that can punish you and can win this game easily by double digits, but Creighton's a team playing a bit desperate. I know we're just at the beginning of January, but sitting here at 9-5, Creighton's probably more so looking like a NIT type team than a NCAA tournament team. So I think they're playing a little bit desperate in this one. They'll keep it close and within the number, but I'll take Marquette to win 80-70. I'll go Creighton plus 10.5, over 146.5. All right, we go to Saturday now. Start with an awesome SEC game. And as I was saying at the beginning, like if you haven't really been plugged in on college basketball yet, you're probably shocked to see the Florida Gators sitting here at number 6 at 13-0. They travel to Kentucky to play the number 10 Wildcats, 11-2. An 11 a.m. Eastern time tip-off on ESPN. I'm not sure what the deal is with that, but we'll start it early on Saturday morning. Florida projected to win this one on the road, 82-78. So Florida minus 3.5, over under 159.5, probably the highest total of any game on the show this weekend, Joe. You think Florida can continue this hot pace and go into Rupp and win this game against Kentucky?
I am going to go with Kentucky here. I was just talking about it with Marquette. I mean, it's tough to go on the road at all, but especially you're going to Rupp. Kentucky, is trying to prove, after Cal left them, that they're still an elite program. I mean, they're off to an awesome start. I'm not trying to take away from, they had that weird loss to Ohio State. We were at your house watching that. It was a real head scratcher of a game because Ohio State had looked real bad this year. But I think Kentucky's going to win this 78-75. I'm going to take the under in this game just because, kind of like you said, quite 11 a.m. start, a little early, getting a shoot around a little early. Who knows, how good you're going to sleep the night before. Maybe nerves kick in a little bit. So I'm going to go with Kentucky at home. I'll take them plus 3.5, and I'm going to go with the under.
I'm going to go Kentucky as well, winning outright. So I'll take them plus 3.5 in the over of 159.5. I think this is a matchup of two teams that are really talented offensively. Kentucky is a fun watch. They're able to shoot the ball really well from 3. I haven't watched Florida that much. They didn't play that tough of a non-conference schedule, so we'll see how really legit they are at this 13-0. First kind of major test for them going on the road here to Kentucky. But I'm excited to tune into this one. I'm going to be waiting for the Wi-Fi guy to show up at my house between 11:30 and 1:30. So I'll be sitting on the couch watching this one on the phone to start off the day. But interested to see what this Florida team looks like against some high-quality competition. But you're going to give me Kentucky as a dog at home. I don't know if that's actually going to be the line when it comes out. But I'll definitely take Kentucky with the points there. So give me Kentucky plus 3.5 over 159.5. All right, another SEC game. We go to noon now, though, on the SEC network. Georgia, the Bulldogs in basketball, looking like a potential tournament team this year, sitting at 12-1. They travel to number 24 Ole Miss, who's 11-2. Georgia projected to win 73-72, a tight one. So we'll go Georgia minus 1.5 over under 144.5. Joe. Chris Beard and the Rebels looking to get to the tournament in year 2 under him. Do you think that they get the big-time SEC win at home here?
Yeah, cool. I think it's going to be a real good spot for them. It's also going to tell me a lot about this Georgia team. They have a win over St. John's. Lost to Marquette is their only loss that was in the Bahamas. But, the SEC is looking great this year. I mean, currently on ESPN, if you go to the full state, like South Carolina is 10-3. Like even like if you call like South Carolina has the most losses at 10-3 of the non-conference. And this conference is going to be very fun to watch. This is going to show me how real Georgia is, though. If they can go down to Oxford, keep it close, maybe even pull it out, I think this will be a real good Georgia team this year. If not, who knows? It might be the same old Georgia that we've been used to these past couple of years. I'm going to go Ole Miss 81, Georgia 72. I think Chris Beard has Ole Miss in the right direction last year. I know they started undefeated, but their non-conference was baby shit soft. Off to 11-2 start this year. You got to win against BYU at Louisville, much better than what we've seen in the past. Now, you've also had games against Purdue and at Memphis, so definitely a step up in your non-conference scheduling. I think Ole Miss will be able to get into the tournament this year. I'm calling my shot. I think they're going to be a 7 seed, in the 7-10 game. So there might be a 10 seed, but they'll be in the 7-10 game, and they'll be 3:45 p.m. on True TV. Calling it right now.
All right. Bookmark that one. Definitely haven't watched either of these two teams yet this year. So it's another one where I'll be, if able to tune into it, an interesting watch because just see like how good really these teams are. And like you said, Ole Miss past couple of weeks has played some tougher games. Georgia hasn't played that tough of a schedule yet either. So you're kind of saying it with South Carolina, like sitting there at 10-3. I'm interested to see worst team actually is in the SEC this year because so many teams with good records right now. Like we'll talk about Missouri in a little bit, but they're sitting there at 11-2 going into this game. They didn't win a single game in the SEC last year. So how much better are they? Did they just play a soft non-con? Interested to see kind of how this all plays out. But I'll side with the home team here in Ole Miss. I just trust Chris Beard, point blank, period. Like he's just a winning coach. I'll take him and his guys at home in this one as a dog as well. Really like that spot. So Ole Miss plus 1.5 under 144.5. I'll go. All right, we to another really fun SEC game. That's going to be a common theme, I think, on the show this year in the games of the weekend. Number 23, Arkansas at 11-2. Have watched a handful of their game. They go down to Knoxville, Thompson Bowling Arena to play the number 1 ranked team in the country, the Tennessee Volunteers, at 13-0. 1 o'clock tip on ESPN. Tennessee projected to win 76-66. So go Tennessee minus 9.5 over under 141.5.
I'm definitely going to take Arkansas here plus 9.5. I think it's a lot of points. I'm going to go Tennessee actually winning by 8 points, 77-76. Going to take the over here, 141. Like I said, I'm going to take Arkansas plus 9.5. Coyle this game at your favorite place on earth, Thompson Bowling Arena. And I'm not going to lie, I haven't watched a lot of these teams this year. I've been, big in college football. I'm still, diving into college basketball head first. So I'm going to go with Tennessee at home here to beat Arkansas.
I'm going to go Tennessee as well. I'm going to take them to cover. Tennessee's been dominant this year. I think it's no real sugarcoating it. Not the breaking any news here, but Auburn and Tennessee sitting at 1-2, they've been the two most dominant teams. Like, even if you're just looking at their schedule, they've been blowing teams out consistently. I don't think this is going to be a blowout. I think Arkansas kind of hangs around, but Tennessee at home is just a different beast, man. Under Rick Barnes, it's been for quite some time now. They're one of the more dominant teams in the country at home. Arkansas has been up and down this year. They should have lost to Miami a couple weeks ago at Miami. Miami is terrible this year, and Arkansas found a way to kind of come back at the end and win that one. They're up and down. Arkansas is going to be a team that when Tennessee goes there, or if Auburn goes to Arkansas, or Kentucky goes to Arkansas, that's going to be a game where Arkansas wins. They're talented enough to do it, but I think they're a team that's going to struggle on the road this year and kind of lose these games against these higher ranked teams throughout the season. So I'm going to take Tennessee to win and to cover. I'm going to go with the under. I'll go Tennessee 75, Arkansas 64. So Tennessee minus 9.5, under 141.5. All right, we go to the Big 12 now. Number 25, Baylor at 9-3. I've watched a bunch of their games, and I like the guard play. Sitting here at 9-3 confuses me a little bit. I think that they're going to be a better team as the season goes along, though. They travel to Ames to play number 3 Iowa State, who is 11-1, 2:00 tip on CBS. Iowa State 80 to 74 is the projected score in this one. So go Iowa State minus 5.5, over under 153.5.
Currently sitting here on ESPN getting ads for a no alcohol challenge, so that should tell you where I'm at to start my 2025. But I'm going to go Iowa State 81, Baylor 78. Take Baylor plus the 5.5. I'm going to go over here. Like I said, kind of firing from the hip, especially with the totals. I'm normally historically bad with my totals anyways, but I'm going to go with Iowa State here to win by 3 at home. McClay will be celebrating in Conchi with you Saturday, Coyle.
I'm going to take Iowa State as well. They're another team different at home, man. Like, they just find a way to dominate those games in Ames. 5.5, it looks like a lot, but I think that's one where Iowa State and kind of that defense just suffocates Baylor as the game goes along. But I am still high on this Baylor team. I think that they're going to have a nice year in the Big 12. Not as high of a seed as they usually are, but I think they're still a team that's going to make some noise, and their guards are a really talented bunch. So I'm going to take Iowa State to win and cover in this one, and I'll go with the under as well. But I'm buying some stock in Baylor. I think that they're still going to have a nice year in the Big 12 there. All right, one of my favorite teams that I've watched early in this season. They're a fun team, and sounds like they're going to have a fun future, and that's BYU. They're at 10-2, traveling to Houston to play the number 14 ranked Cougars, who are 9-3. 2:00 tip on ESPN Plus. Houston projected to roll in this one, 73-58. So Houston minus 14.5, over under 130.5.
I'll take Houston to win 71-67. If you're going to give me 14.5, I'll definitely take that on Saturday. I'm going to go over 130.5 here. But at the end of the day, I mean, LJ Crier's still there for Houston. Kevin Sampson, that's the coach, right, Coyle? I didn't want to. Right, is that right, Kevin Sampson?
Kelvin Sampson.
Kelvin. Okay, I was close. I didn't want to fuck that up too badly. But I mean, ever since I've been watching him at Houston, they like to play low scoring. They're really good at home. I'm going to take them in a close one over BYU here, and get Big 12 play rolling. They're already 1-0 for Houston. I think they're going to start 2-0 early on in this conference season.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with an upset here. It would be a big one. The analytics once again love this Houston team. They're not as good as they have been the past few years, and that's because obviously Jamal Shedd's not there anymore. But I just think that they're more of like a collection of good players, but they don't have like that great player that they've had in past years. And I think the analytics once again are in love with them, but the eye test and watching them so far, I'm not fully bought in on this Houston team. I think that we could see them struggle a little bit more. And I'm going to go with the upset here with BYU pulling it off. I think BYU has a hot shooting game from deep. If it is plus 14.5, definitely going to take that. I love that. But this is going to be my upset pick of the week. BYU goes to Houston and wins that game. I'll go BYU 70-67, so plus 14.5, and I will go with the over of 130.5 there. All right, back to SEC country and Mizzou at 11-2. Curious to see how legit that squad is as they travel to Auburn to play the number 2 ranked Tigers, 12-1. Auburn's been rolling, been blowing every team out in their path so far this year. 4:00 on the SEC Network. Auburn projected to win this one 87-68. So Auburn minus 18.5, over under 154.5.
Yeah, I mean, I'll definitely take Auburn in this game. I'm going to go 91-84. I'll take the 18.5. It might not be that high scoring. I'm going to take the over, but I feel like 18.5 is a ton of points. Coy, like you said, Mizzou, who knows how legit this is? SEC play is really going to, I feel like, expose some teams quickly. I mean, you have that massive win against Kansas in the border war for Missouri, tough loss against Illinois. So I'm really interested to see how they look. But Bruce Pearl, I mean, Auburn, I watched some of them in the Maui tournament earlier in the year. They've looked incredible. And I think they're going to win here, but 18.5 is a lot of points in conference play, especially this early. If this was late in the year, maybe Missouri fell off a little bit and they're kind of quitting. You can maybe take the 18.5, but I'm going to definitely take Missouri here in this one to cover.
Yeah, I'm gonna take Missouri to cover too. I don't feel great about that. If this is the actual spread, I'm probably not gonna bet it just because Auburn, like I said, has been rolling just about every single thing in their path so far. But 18 and a half in a conference game's a lot, so I will take Mizzou to cover. But Auburn definitely is a team you gotta get your eyes on if you haven't so far. They're a team that is looking like a team on a mission. I think a lot of the guys from last year's team that came back. Remember that early loss to Yale in the first round of the tournament. That this is a motivated team, a really fun team, and an Auburn gym that is another one that's rocking when they're playing well. So I'm going to go Auburn to win here, but I will take Mizzou to cover, and I'll go with the under of 154.5. All right, SEC country again. Number 12, Oklahoma at 13-0. Definitely one of the surprises, I think, in college basketball this year. Goes to number 5, Alabama, who's 11-2. Bama's sitting at 11-2. Credit to them because they played, I think, the toughest schedule in the country so far. It feels like all those big events at the beginning of the year, they were just playing hard game after hard game, and now you got in the loaded SEC schedule as well. Going to be interesting to see like the seeding for the SEC because I think we're going to run into a situation where a lot of these teams are just going to be knocking each other off on their home courts. So going to be interesting to see how good Alabama's seed actually is, but they're a team I don't think anyone's going to want to play come tournament time. But this is a 6:00 tip on SEC Network. Bama projected 89-78 here, so go Bama minus 10.5 over under 166.5.
Yeah, cool. You could have a situation with Bama, like they could be the 8th seed in the SEC and still get
Yeah,
like a 3-4 in the NCAA tournament. I mean, the SEC is very deep this year. But cool, even to your point of like their non-conference scheduling, even some of the mid-majors they played, like they played McNeese, who last year was a tournament team. UNC Asheville, I believe, made the tournament last year. They played at North Dakota in one of the weirdest games I've ever seen, which I love that. I wish more big teams did that. And then Arkansas State, who's knocked off Memphis. I mean, so even the mid majors they played good. You have Purdue, Illinois, Houston. Luke's. Rutgers Scarlet Knights. Shout out Rutgers. A lot of good games for Bama so far. Definitely battle tested. I think it's going to help them as you get more into the grind of this SEC schedule. But I'm going to go with Bama 85, Oklahoma 83. I'll take Oklahoma plus 10.5, and I am going to go over 166.5.
I'm going to go Bama to win this one as well, but keep it close. Oklahoma keeps it close on this one. Bama, Houston, I feel like those are always the two KenPom analytics loving teams. Like Bama being a 10.5 point favorite here, I think they're a really good team. But Oklahoma's sitting here at number 12 in the country at 13-0. You're giving me 10.5 points with them. I'm going to take that. Maybe this is just a Vegas nose type spot, but I think Oklahoma's tough enough and stingy enough to make this a ball game. But Alabama's definitely a team, too, that I'm buying stock in. Their experience, return a bunch of guys that went all the way to the Final Four last year. A really fun team to watch, too. I love watching them play. But I'm going to go Bama to win, Oklahoma to cover the 10.5, and I will take the under of 166.5. If this is a game that Oklahoma's in, I think it's a lower scoring game for Alabama standards. All right, 2 games left, one on Saturday night and one on Sunday. We got a great one on Sunday in the afternoon. Probably won't get that much views with the NFL and all the playoff scenarios this weekend. But they're a team that I definitely want to check out more because they've been dominating a lot of games as well, and they're not ranked yet. But we'll get to that in a little bit. But Texas at 11-2 to wrap up Saturday night at number 13, Texas A&M, who is 11-2 as well. 8:00 tip on the SEC Network. A&M projected to win 73-65. So go A&M minus 7.5 over under 137.5.
I'm going to go A&M here, 69-68. I think it'll be a 1-point game. I'll take Texas plus 7.5. I'm going to go under 137.5. Rivalry game like this, being back in conference, we talked about it with football. I know Texas ended up winning that game. totally different sport. I understand, but huge game to kick off conference play. You're starting with a rivalry. The SEC does get it when they're scheduling these games. I'm going to go with A&M here by a point because of that. I think the atmosphere. These fans want to kill each other. I think this is going to be a real close game, real entertaining game.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a fun one as well. I'm going to take A&M. That's our squad. You got to continue to back them. Wade Taylor, my favorite player in all of college basketball. Hopefully he gets a deep run in March this year. A&M looks like they're finally living up to expectations. I feel like the past few years going into it, they were kind of hyped up. And, last year they were in that 8-9 game. Had a great game in the second round there against Houston that they fell in overtime. But a really fun A&M team. One of my favorite watches with Wade Taylor and the way that they crash the glass. I'm going to have them win this one at home outright, but I will take Texas to cover the 7.5. Interested to see what Texas looks like sitting here at 11-2. Watched them earlier in the year against UConn. They weren't that impressive to me. So interested to see kind of what they look like going into SEC play. But I will take Texas plus 7.5 over 137.5, but I will have the Aggies winning outright at home. All right, and final game, we go to Sunday. Maryland at 11-2. In Haslam Metrics, they have Maryland as their 4th-ranked team. So really interested to see what they look like more going forward. But they've been dominating a lot of teams as well. And they don't have the number next to their name yet, but they travel to number 9 Oregon for a Big Ten matchup. Funny to say that. Oregon at 12-1, 4:00 tip on Peacock. Maryland projected to win here at number 9 Oregon. Just goes to show you what the analytics think about them. 76-72. So we'll go Maryland minus 3.5 over under 147.5.
Coyle, I haven't watched a lick of Maryland basketball this year. I won't lie. So I'm going to take Oregon at home. I know it's a square pick. I'll take them to win by a point. So I'll take Oregon plus 3.5 under 147.5. One thing I am interested to see, though, we talked about it a lot with football, but you have Maryland playing tonight at Washington at 9:30. Then they play Sunday at Oregon. I'm interested to see how the time zones are affecting these guys. Maybe not early in the season, but as the season goes on, I think that's going to be something to look at. We saw football, a lot of the teams going 2+ time zones were struggling. So I think that'll be something to keep an eye on. I'll go with Oregon close here. Oregon big game tonight against Illinois as well.
Yeah, I think that game's going on right now or starting at 9. So I'm going to tune into that one after this for sure. But I'm going to go with Maryland. I think this is a spread, kind of like a Vegas nose type game. I would be very surprised if Maryland was a 3.5-point favorite. Actually, I think it'll probably be like Oregon -2 or something. But crazy to me that Maryland's not ranked yet. I've watched them a handful of times, and they've looked really good. And another team that's been blowing people out of the water so far this season. Kevin Willard seems to really have got it going down there in College Park. But I'm going to take Maryland to win, and I'll take them to cover. I'll go 74-70, so Maryland -3.5, under 147.5. And that'll wrap it up for this weekend's college basketball preview. And we didn't even hit all the games. Like, there's some more good ones on Sunday. There's a handful of good games on Saturday. Like, I think you mentioned South Carolina, but they play Mississippi State, I think, this weekend. That's a good one. Friday night, Ohio State, Michigan State plays. So we got a lot of good hoops this weekend. Football, obviously, coming to a close on college. We got the playoffs still next week, and we got the NFL playoffs next weekend as well. But it's a great weekend to really start locking in on college basketball. Listen to like 3 podcasts today, catching up on all the news and notes. So exciting times ahead. And as we make now in 2025, hard to believe it, but we're now starting to make that push for March. Time to start looking at bracketology, bubble talk, and everything. But anything else, Joe, before we head out?
No, I mean, Cole, you said it best. I mean, we'll be sitting here in 2.5 months breaking down March Madness. And, it's crazy how quick the turnaround is, especially, I know there's some, more college basketball diehards than me. I do love college basketball, but it's tough for me to keep up with that and football. Now, like you said, football's dying down. I'm going to really lock in. I know a lot of my analysis was kind of like, oh, just take the home team. Like I'm some fucking sharp. I'm obviously not. Nothing about me is sharp. I'm very round, but I'm very excited to really start locking in a college basketball. Conference play is going to be awesome, and I can't wait.
Yeah, and I just looked it up as well. What was your projection for Ole Miss? 7 seed?
Yeah, 7-10 game, 345 True TV.
8 seed right now is Ole Miss against number 9 Texas Tech.
Ooh, I'm close. I'll take. Listen, if I get anywhere near that, I'll take it.
All right, well, that'll do it. Enjoy the college basketball this weekend. We'll be back next week, obviously, with our playoff preview and then touching on some more college basketball as well. But thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Happy New Year. Please like, subscribe, and we'll talk next week.